Very good morning and welcome to the Elets Edtech Summit presented by Gupshup. We are now heading into a panel discussion, Traditional versus Edtech, Better Teaching Methodology in Indian Perspective. Joining us for this session, we have Sushil Agrawal, CEO and founder, Sarti Pedagogy, Mr. Ankur Vora, Business Director, India Cianfo, welcome, and Dr. Prem Maheshwari, Business Director, South Asia, D2L Asia. Welcome, sir. Mr. Sushil Agrawal is right. Welcome. So, to begin with, may I ask all my esteemed speakers to give a brief introduction about their respective organizations? Just a 2-minute intro about respective organizations. So, we'll begin with Mr. Sushil Agrawal, CEO and founder, Sarti Pedagogy. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So we are building Sarti. At Sarti, we are basically helping mid-tier schools of our country who are charging fees between 10,000 to 35, 40,000 per annum. Now, these are the schools who have lots of challenges in recruiting qualified teachers, recruiting experienced teachers, and as well as to give ample amount of infrastructural facilities and aids to the students. So, to this school, we basically work as in partner with the schools, helping their teachers, students in training, textbooks, helping them to improve the learning outcome. Which improving learning outcome is our core focus, where we first identify where are the gaps, then we help teachers and students to fulfill the gap, as well as we closely work with management to make sure that they progresses in terms of admission, in terms of learning outcome, because ultimately better learning outcome, better academics will turn out to a better schooling system and better admissions. So thank you very much, Rema.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ankur Vora, if you can know a bit about Cialfo, please, from you.
Thank you, Garima, and thank you, Elets, for inviting me to this panel. Look forward to our discussion today. I represent Cialfo, which is a global SaaS-based platform. We operate in about 100 plus countries. We are in the area of career counseling. We help students identify their core strengths. So we work very closely with our career counseling community in India and about 100 plus countries around the world. We are also now revolutionizing the way students transition from schools to university within our new format, which is called Direct Apply, which is a single application form through which they can apply to multiple universities, multiple countries around the world, both in India and abroad. So we are solving a very complex and a very prevalent problem, which is how to apply to multiple universities through a single application form. So I head the India business for Cianfo. Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Dr. Prem Maheshwari, can we know a bit about from you about D2L Asia?
Sure. Thank you, Garima, and thank you, Elets, for this opportunity. D2L, which was formerly called as Desire to Learn, which is one of the largest and most innovative learning management system for higher education, for K-12 schools and corporates worldwide. We are a Canada headquartered company with a strong footprint in almost every continent, including Asia. In Asia, we have presence in India in a major way with a strong footprint in India, Australia, and Singapore. D2L provides a learning management platform called Brightspace, which is endowed as one of the most innovative learning management platform because of its unique features and functionalities. That includes completely web responsive and mobile responsive design, built-in facility to create content directly on the platform, and that feature is loved by the faculties worldwide, as also built-in assessment tools and grading tools and competency-based education system that adheres to the new education policy 2020. The world's very innovative learning management platform, and we have a large number of clients in India in all the three segments. So that's a little bit about us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. So I think we have a brief about all the panelists here and their respective organizations. So now we'll head into the discussion. I would like to begin the first question, and I would like to pose it to Mr. Sushil Agrawal. So, Mr. Agrawal, I would like to know your views on analyzing the efficacy of online teaching and learning methods in comparison to traditional learning.
So, Garima, I have a very strong point to add over here. So, we have been facing COVID past 2.5 years, and we have seen, every one of us have seen how school shifted from total offline school to total online, and now it's an online come offline model where education has been delivered in offline mode, but some part of data sharing and some part of information sharing and testing has been taken care online. So, talking about the experience which we had, because I personally have experience of running school in Ahmedabad. So, from my core hardcore experience visiting schools, we felt that pure India is still not ready for total online education, where we can say that 100% education can be delivered online, because ultimately there is an experience which matters, which basically we get in offline education. But what we have grown as a country in this 2.5 years is that we got ready with the assets, we got ready with the transformation, mindset transformation, which is required, which was very much required among students, parents, and teachers, because these three are the key pillars to run the entire education system. Now, if you talk about efficacy, so I can quote that in 2.5 years, what we have learned is that teachers have upgraded themselves to a larger extent. Students and parents have also got matured of how to use devices, how to use technology in a better form. And now it's time to give the right set of quick with the right set of technology. Right now, if I talk about data in India, out of 3.5 lakh private schools and total 15 lakh total schools in India, earlier 25,000 schools were hardly using any kind of technology. Now this number of 20,000 has grown to at least 2.5 lakh, 3 lakh schools, which whom have started using technology in any form. Either you say WhatsApp messages, either you say Google Meet or Zoom classes. So this has definitely helped grown in the learning of grown in the mindset of our ecosystem.
Right. Thanks, Mr. Agrawal. Very pertinent points that you have put up. Mr. Vora, if I can know from you, what do you think is the role of infrastructure for facilitating better edtech support against traditional teaching learning methods?
Yeah, I think role of infrastructure is very very important. And when we talk about edtech, we speak about the digital divide that has happened in the country, and not even in this country, but across the world. Because we are a global company, we operate in 100 plus countries. We have seen in particularly developing world, students do not have access to. Everybody does not have access to Wi-Fi or even a mobile handset or a laptop. So access actually, our edtech is providing access to a lot of students. Definitely, during the pandemic, we saw that, and I agree with Sushil that when he says that, a lot of the schools went online, and there was a huge help from edtech in continuing access to education for large proportion of students. But still, I think a large proportion of students were out of this and lost on school, many important school hours, because they could not have a device, they could not have an internet. So we need to develop infrastructure, and it's not only on an edtech company or a couple of edtech companies that can develop that infrastructure. It will depend on the government and the larger society around us to develop that. Having said that, edtech is and teaching are here to stay. We think as the years progress and as we come out of this pandemic, hopefully, the infrastructure, the approach has been put in place, and we are going to only build upon this foundation. If I look back 2 years, if I talk about Cialfo, Cialfo in India used to work with about a handful of schools when we started out. Today, we are seeing 100% growth in our school network, and we are projecting at least 400 to 500% growth in schools adopting Cialfo for their students in this country. And I'm not talking about a global audience. That is also seeing a large growth in terms of adoption of technology. So, in all, I think we have got a good start. We have established the fundamentals of edtech. But I just want to add to what Sushil was saying there, that yes, edtech cannot replace schools. So students still want that experience. The teachers want that experience. Even me being an SaaS platform that works in college counseling and college applications, they still want us to come to their school and engage with students, engage with parents. So I think experiential part of the school is definitely here to stay, even
Right.
not only in India but at a global level. So, and infrastructure, as I said, it's developing as we go around. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Vora. Dr. Maheshwari, coming to you. So, do you think EdTech is providing support to traditional learning for better teaching methodology?
Absolutely. So EdTech is actually complementing and supplementing the teaching methodology. And the pandemic, and as Sushil rightly mentioned, has changed the mindset, pedagogy, and the way teaching and learning is happening today. You see, teachers used to be sage on the stage 2.5 years back. They are guided by the side now. Now that has been enabled by technology, use of immense amount of technology during pandemic, and as a result of which, now when schools are opening up, institutions and universities are opening up, gradually we are moving towards the scenario of hybrid education, partly online, partly face to face, partly a combination of both. All this is possible only and only by immense use of technology, which we were forced to get into it, which is actually good. And as Ankur rightly mentioned, I think we have been forced to use technology, as a result of which what was actually anticipated some 5 or 10 years from now has happened now. When people have started using technology, students, parents, teachers, school administrators, owners, everyone is dependent on technology, and it has come absolutely smoothly into our lives. Now, the role of technology in the traditional education, therefore, has actually become complementary and supplementary, because today, even recent UGC regulation also mentioned that they have recommended by next year they will make it mandatory for all the universities and institutions and colleges to impart 40% of education completely online, soliciting resources and content from outside, and this has to become part of our curriculum. Now, since we are moving towards that, it has to be a possible combination of technology and traditional way of learning. Learning management systems, learning management platforms actually enable creating that virtual university or virtual college or virtual school environment. You are given the content in variety of forms, digital forms, which could be in the form of videos or otherwise. Immense amount of material is available through learning management platforms to the students as also to the teachers. A major portion of regular delivery of content can happen through learning management platforms. And when students actually go to the classes and they actually attend lectures, application of that knowledge that they have learned completely online can actually be practiced whilst they're in the classrooms. They can discuss case studies, they can discuss application of real life scenarios, their learnings, and all that stuff can happen. So it'll actually going forward, what is going to emerge is a combination or a hybrid model of learning, teaching, and pedagogical changes enabled by technology. So it will be technology enabled traditional learning. That will be the scenario in almost every school and every college and every university in our country going forward. That's my anticipation.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. The next question I think I'll open to all the panelists. And though, Mr. Vora briefly touched upon it in his discussion. So I'll begin with you, Mr. Agrawal. So do you think EdTech has the capacity to be accessible to the remote and the rural population?
Definitely, it has, but I would like to add some points to Prem's thought. Uh, Actually, EdTech has done an immense played immense role in improving the education system, because see, the education system which we all have been gone through and where we all have been studied and where we are right now from the current education system. But there are few limitations of our current education system which we all have already spoken lots of time. I want to point that out in structurally as in four limitations which our current education system has. First is rote learning. If you go in deep in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, still 50-60% students are not able to understand the concept. And this is the harsh reality which we have accepted. And second limitation of our current education system is the loose mechanism of identifying the learning outcome. Right now, we don't have any structured mechanism of identifying the learning outcome. Third limitations of our current education system is that there's a large gap between marks which child gets and knowledge which child have. I mean, there is, if you go deep inside our Bharat, you will feel large gap. They are getting 90%, but if you talk about knowledge, so there is a gap. And fourth, and which is very much important, that is our current education system is based on the factory model and which is non-personalized. It doesn't suffice the need of each and every individual individually. Now, to add on Prem's point of why LMS is the need of the time, because this whole limitations can be overcome with the help of using the right form of technology, using right form of system and processes in your organization, where you can identify the learning outcome and overcome with the limitation. So it will be a deadly combination. The existing system added within the right LMS system will become a deadly combination to make our India ready for the coming generations.
Mhm. Right, right. Mr.
Yeah,
Vora,
and
if you could probably, yeah, sorry, please carry on. Yeah.
yeah. So, and to add to the question which you have asked, the accessibility of edtechs and accessibility of digital tools in the rural areas. So yes, in fact, if I talk about Sarti, our 70% clients come from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities of our country, where students are in fact more ready to adapt technology. They are more ready towards driving in the force of change, where they love going through the technology. They love learning online. They love communicating online. They love when they see their learning outcomes coming with them. They love to see their reports, and which basically, which I feel that sooner or later, our rural India is going to get empowered a lot, and the digital divide, which was there existing from several years, is going to get reduced day by day with this kind of system.
Right, right. Thank you, thank you. Mr. Vora, if you'd like to add to this question.
So yeah, as I said in my remarks, digital divide is here, and definitely it would be here because nobody was prepared for it. As one of my colleagues was mentioning, that the evolution that we were thinking of coming in the edtech sector in next 10 years happened in 2 years. So definitely there were gaps, and so those gaps have to be addressed. So we couldn't cover everybody, and as I mentioned, I mean, it's not the fault of the tech companies, or we are also here as part of the larger society and trying to solve problems that come our way. So definitely digital divide is here, and if you read the uh, UN reports, and you see the how many kids have been left out of education because of offline learning, online learning, sorry, it's a huge number. And the fault doesn't lie with edtech companies. The edtech companies actually made education possible for balance of the students. We couldn't cover 100%, but at least we covered 50% of the students to know that their education could continue. We will strive to make education accessible for another 50% of our students. And as our edtech has undergone an evolution, definitely infrastructure will also be growing in those terms. So I am optimistic that together with all the members of the society, we will be able to solve these issues.
Right, thank you. Thank you, sir. Dr. Maheshwari, your thoughts,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. So you mentioned about the accessibility of students to technology in the rural areas or semi-rural areas. I think with 800 million plus mobile users across the country, accessibility is not a problem. Further, we provide cheapest data to the users across the country. With cheap data and smartphone availability, even in rural areas, things have eased out. I'm not saying that the, the problem has been solved, but in terms of coverage and reach, if you see, the accessibility to mobile phones, smartphones, and cheap data has actually, created a scenario where, even in rural areas and in semi-urban areas, students are able to use and reach the study material using technology and tech. You know, now pandemic has, of course, created. I would say, this has helped students to actually use technology through their smartphones comfortably sitting at their home. This is going to increase further because now students, teachers, parents, administrators, schools have understood the utility of digital education and tech education. Going forward, with the help of government aid, I think you will see that in next 2 to 3 years there will be absolutely special schemes and support from state and central governments to provide accessibility to students and teachers even in rural areas, so that they're able to complete their education. And with UGC and other mandatory regulatory bodies making it compulsory for 40% of digital education, this will be a precursor to this situation. So we will gradually see that the access is already there, though limited. It will gradually and slowly increase in next 2 to 3 years, encompassing majority of these students at K to 12 level, as also senior secondary education and graduate and postgraduate education, accessing technology to use in studies and learning. That's my point
Right.
on that.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. So I think we've seen a system, where our education system before the pandemic we were moving towards, we were gradually moving towards, an evolution. Then the pandemic stuck, and students were forced to stay at home and start continue their learning home. And now again, we are making them move towards the hybrid model. So how do you think, as educationists, or as service providers, as tech companies, how do you think the students will be able to mold themselves? What can be done to ease their access into this new world order? So, Mr. Vora, I think I'll begin with you. I see a huge smile on your face.
Yeah, because because when I traveled to my schools, and after pandemic I started traveling a lot physically. So I went there and I started meeting the school principals, teachers, and even students. And I said, how are the students coping up from coming back to the offline learning after the online learning? And most of them told me that it's a huge learning gap again for them to come from online to completely offline, because they have been accustomed to a certain way of learning. As one of my Sushil was mentioning about measuring the learning outcomes, the measuring learning outcomes part, the examinations part in online learning was very different with what was happening in offline. And when they came to the offline and writing with pen and paper, even that writing skill has been lost because they were not writing on the with a pen and paper. So students are asking for much more time to write examinations. The scores that they used to get in online learning are much more than what they are getting in offline learning. So how do you ensure that that the right environment for online assessments? A couple of the principals in leading Delhi NCR schools where I met said that the parents also believe that offline learning is a stressful time for them, because they had got adapted to certain kind of giving examinations, giving assignments, and now they're being asked to completely let go of that. But what each of them, I mean, I'm talking about a couple of principals from leading schools, said that we see hybrid model being the approach to education moving forward, and not offline or not online. Both of them cannot live without each other now. That is the reality. So both of them will coexist. Technology is helping them, each of the stakeholders, teachers or students or parents and principals, do their job better. So they are now having a deep interest in working with online. But there are still issues that we need to resolve as edtech companies and schools and education institutions, on how exactly this partnership will work together with offline and online. So that's my 2 cents here.
Right, thank you. Mr. Agrawal, if we can have your thoughts.
So definitely, because we are working with technology and we are already working in every field, I can say that there are many areas where technology have God as a boon for schools. If you talk about saving time, saving energy, saving lots of man hours. I mean, earlier teachers used to do teachers, management, everyone used to manage the entire organization, and the when we were based on offline based. So with the help of technology, you are actually saving lots of your productive time, and this time is utilized in the right areas and right development of your organization. If we talk about the process of teaching a chapter, there are four elements added to it. Let's say teachers create lesson plan, then they teach in the class, then they give classwork, and then they do homework. So these are the four elements which used to, which is there across our nation. Now, this four task, which is to be done every time for teaching every chapter, is totally automized, either partially automized, or can be done in high quality way with the help of use of technology. You can create better lesson plans in your teaching. You can build good experience with the help of e-learning content, concept animations. In building classwork, you can choose technology to you can choose technology engine to design the classwork as per the your boards or your school's requirement, and you can bring homework automation. So certainly, technology is now inevitable part of an organization, and as we all are moving to Industry 4.0, So this is also a kind of revolution that school was actually needing. Everyone was talking about that revolution should come in education. Now we are seeing the adaptability of that revolution, and soon I'm very much optimistic for the future of.
Right, right. Thank you, thank you. Dr. Maheshwari, over to you, sir.
Okay. Uh, One thing is that we all know that the students who are currently studying in K to 12 schools or even graduations, they were born in late 90s or early 2000s. When they actually started understanding world around them, they understood technology. My children use technology much better than me, be it mobile features or new mobiles or new laptops, anything digital. They actually understand it better. Two, uh, the students, youngsters love gaming. So you cross one level, you go to next level, and so on and so forth. They love it. Having understood this basic, inherent DNA, which is digitized DNA of the youngsters who study in schools and colleges, I think technology can be a massive enabler in actually, complementing the current modus operandi of teaching and learning. And how it happens is that in a typical learning management system, there are four key stakeholders: students, teachers, parents, and the school management or the top management who governs overall things. From the student's perspective, life becomes very easy because they're very, very comfortable using technology, using smartphones. So if they receive an assignment or an assessment or a test completely online on their mobile, they love it doing that test completely online and submitting the results. A. B. The large number of award tools and gamification tools that are available on learning management platforms that actually helps a student to progress to the next level as you do it in a game. So you cross one level in an assignment and you are awarded a badge. So if I've got a badge, I'll brag about my badge to my colleagues or my classmates, and I will actually earn for getting more badges and therefore higher levels of clearing those quizzes. That brings a fantastic, competition amongst students. So using of gamification, badging, and technology with students, from students' perspective, this is fantastic. From teachers' perspective, if you see, teachers so far until pre-COVID days were involved in large number of mundane administrative activities, manually creating grade sheets, manually correcting the assignments, manually tabulating everything, manually preparing results. That was taking a major part of energy and time of each and every faculty. With use of digital technology, all that can go away in a click of button. And actually, they can devote major part of their time in teaching and learning for which they've been identified, rather than doing mundane administrative tasks which yields no results. And actually, this is very fast also. Third thing is the regulators are now coming up with mandatory regulations where the schools and teachers will need to submit the progress of each and every student in the school ecosystem. And this is what outcome based education or competency based education talks about, which means that you have to map the competency enhancement of each and every student as he or she goes through the learning journey. Now, manually assessing the competencies or manually keeping track of each and every individual competencies is next to impossible. You have to get into a digital format where you can actually map the competency enhancement of each and every individual student completely digitally. Third stakeholders, parents. Parents are always worried about their children. So far, we've been seeing parent-teacher meetings, which are very, very high drama, high voltage events. But digital access to parents in terms of progress of their wards on each and every subject, each and every activity, actually does away with the need of a physical parent-teacher meeting. There could be physical parent-teacher meeting on and off, but then the data for which you actually, as a parent, go to a school to interact with teachers is available to you digitally on your smartphones. If that is made available, at least major part of the worries of teachers also takes away. And from the student and from the school administrators and school owners or senior management, you need to have a bird's eye view of the entire system. You need to identify how each and every teacher is teaching, how each and every student is performing. You need to identify who are at risk students, students who are not able to comprehend certain subjects or certain topics or subtopics. You need to identify them. Providing the entire education platform through an LMS helps you identify at risk students, and therefore, using digital technology, artificial intelligence led tools, competency based education that helps you individualize and personalize the education, you could actually focus on such students who are at risk. So all this is going to complement and supplement the traditional way of learning, and you would see in next couple of years technology will become essential and compulsory part of each and every educational institution, be it in the urban area or rural area. So that's my take on
Right.
this.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. You brought a very pertinent thought, to the fore about the teachers. So technology acceptance and adapting to technology was also a challenge for the teachers. So I would like to ask Mr. Agrawal and Mr. Vora, their thoughts, about the capacity building that is needed for teachers to prepare themselves for the next model, which is the hybrid model that we're talking about. So Mr. Agrawal, if I can begin with you.
So, if I say from my experience, I want to just put down our experience on the table that in 2019 I'm working in this industry past 2018-19 somewhere, and in 2019 the major question which we used to face from the school is about whether our teachers or students will have the devices or whether they will use this or not. Now, when we are visiting schools, talking to the schools, so their question, that question has been completely transformed or replaced by a question that what better you have in comparison to others, or what better you have in comparison to what they are using the current platform. So there is a huge mindset shift, and now schools also believe that it need a fix. They are already using the technology, but it need to be fixed with the right form of technology, such that the entire ecosystem creates value, add improvement in the learning outcome. Yeah, certainly, because this is the story of Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities of our country, but Tier 3 and Tier 4 cities still there is a huge. It will take some time. It will take some time where people like us will visit schools, upskill teachers, upskill students, upskill parents, upskill management, that how they can run school in better way instead of just running school and focusing only on attendance of your organization. Now you can also focus on improving the learning outcome, knowing how much concept your students have understood. So giving this experience, it's our job, and we all, as in part of ecosystem, are continuously putting our efforts to this.
Right, right. Thank you. Mr. Vora, over to you.
Yeah, so I agree with what Sushil was saying. I mean, our tier one schools and tier one cities schools have adapted to online teaching, and I think teachers have done a fantastic job. Even in smaller cities that we visit, not tier two cities, teachers have by and large been able to adapt to online teaching. And once they have had a taste of it, I mean, they can't. They want more of it. And as Sushil was saying, they want to know what is more that they can do via technology. How is your product better than the other one? What are the new features that you can launch? So I mean, the education sector is definitely ripe for transformation. And again, as this transformation we were expecting, if I go back a couple of years before the pandemic, the debate was whether online teaching will replace offline teaching, or whether teachers will be replaced. There was this insecurity in the education sector that jobs will go away and the teachers will
Right.
be replaced by AI and online learning. But I think it has proven this 2 years that we have been in pandemic that online is here to complement the teachers. So there was this inherent insecurity in teachers, and are you here to take our jobs away? If our students are not going to come to school, what will happen to brick and mortar learning? So I was part of, also I have spent about 10 years in higher education sector. I was last part of OP Jindal Global University. I was a director for admissions and outreach before joining Cianfo. And I remember at OP Jindal also when we had to transform and to online learning overnight, uh, the higher education, the professors and the faculty members in the universities uh, wanted to understand whether how effective online learning will be, how effective online teaching will be. But we go back down the lines 2 years now. I mean, fantastic results. I mean, all of them have enjoyed online teaching, online learning. Even the students enjoyed, but they still missed the touch and feel. So when the campus reopened, there was a huge excitement that we are coming back to classrooms, but the classrooms have now evolved. So every classroom now in OP General is a hybrid learning classroom. So even if a student is not in the classroom and sitting at his home, he has now the same experience as a student sitting in the classroom. So the technology, see the growth in technology now. Even the online is an option now within
Right.
that university. So students who do not want to come to classroom, can have the option of online learning, and the faculty member is also now aware that there is a student who is available in online, and he has to engage that student as well. So this evolution of technology, this evolution of teaching and learning pedagogy is happening, which is phenomenal. And it happened in one of the Ivy League universities in India, I mean, in general. But there are other institutions and schools that have also evolved like this. So this is here to stay, and this is with the ways technology is going to evolve and edtech is going to evolve.
Right, right. Thank you, thank you. So we also do understand that the union government is looking at edtech in a big way, and it was pretty evident in the way budget allocations were made towards the edtech sector. So I would like to ask all of you about what do you think is the way forward for the edtech ecosystem in our country now. So I'll begin with Dr. Maheshwari from you.
See, I think you're right. Budgetary outlay has been focused on enablement, actually. Way forward, as my co-panelists have also mentioned, is that a major amount or major resources will have to be deployed currently for change management. I think just allocating budgets for EdTech doesn't serve the purpose. You provide technology to schools and institutions and colleges, it's fine. Budgets would lie unutilized, because if you don't understand how to utilize that technology for changing the pedagogy or adapting that new pedagogy, it's absolutely useless. So major, I think, allocations or application of that budget at ground level or at the school or college level has to be in the change management, wherein teachers and faculties who are going to utilize technology for teaching pedagogies need to understand how to use that technology to actually save their time, money, energy, resources, and deliver more efficient and effective teaching and learning. Now, that is possible when teachers are invested into training. So we have to create certain role models, or train the trainer program within the institutions and schools, where there are certain evangelists, there are certain internal champions who understand technology better, who are tech savvy, to take it to the teachers, teach them, guide them, tell them that if they use technology, they can actually save more time for themselves. Now, this is possible. For example, I'll give you an example. Teachers love creating a changing content depending on which class they're teaching. Even in the same grade, there are multiple sections, and every section has certain uniquenesses. And teachers love to change the content that they're teaching in every class. Now, that is not physically possible, because there's a set syllabi which they have to teach. But what teachers today wish is that if they could teach dynamic content, which means that if they could add, delete, modify, substitute, replace, manipulate the existing content with some digital material or internet-based material, some research papers, some YouTube videos, they're able to do that. Now, this is not possible if teachers are not trained to use technology. Today, advanced technologies and learning management platforms enable teachers to do it themselves in a couple of seconds. They can make all those changes depending on the class, and once they come back from that class, they can do that change for the next class, and so on and so forth. So, ability to create those content, ability to create large number of assignments, digital assignments, and not only creating those digital assignments. Once the students submit the completed assignments, the ability to check them completely digitally, all those capabilities, and the capability to have a bird's eye view of the performance of each and every student in a single click on a desktop or their mobile. All these things needs a lot of training. So my take on this, ma'am, is that fine, the budget allocations are there, but I think both the regulators, the governments, and the school administrators have to spend critical amount of funds and resources on training the teachers to use technology, and then you will see the impact immediately. So that's my take on this. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Agrawal, your views.
Yeah. So I want to quote on government's intent, because that is the most important aspects of nation building. And if you read the document which was given in NEP 2020, intent is quite clear. They have clearly mentioned that we want to focus on learning outcome. We want to focus on teacher assessment. We want to focus on deriving the teachers incentive, deriving the program which can define teachers performance, as well as we can derive the mechanism to bring incentives in our roadmap. So so all this stuff can only be possible when we have co-players like EdTech with our traditional schooling system. Then only this things can be achieved and maintained. So if I talk about so intentionally government is quite inclined towards having a hybrid model and getting the right form of education system for our next generation. So if you talk about budget allocation, so government is aggressively working with schools because having experience from schooling background, I can see changes happening. I can see transformation at surface level is started, and government is more inclined toward bringing quality education and making India a better country with the help of the education system.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Bora, over to you.
I mean, a lot of the things that my colleagues have already mentioned, I mean, I agree with both of them. I mean, the intent is there, and we just need to now start implementing those plans. And the implementation of those plans is the responsibility of a lot of stakeholders. I mean, edtech companies are here to enable that. But then we need a drive. As I said, I mean, I've been saying it multiple times. I mean, we are here to support any initiative that the government wants to take in bringing edtech in the education sector. Budgets have been allocated, and we are trying our best. I mean, in terms of our own organizations, we are putting our energies and time and resources in taking edtech to far and wide in the country. But there is still, as we know, there are thousands of schools that are still untouched. There's thousands of students that are still untouched. There's a lot of infrastructure gap, and it will take time. I mean, it will not happen overnight. It's a continuing process, and I will not be surprised if more and more organizations come into this sector, because the growth that we are seeing. The only thing that we need to keep a watch on is that we are working in education sector, and we're working in something which is what we say in India, very pure, and education is treated as something which is helping students move up the social ladder. So we have
Right.
to be ensuring that this does not become another commercial enterprise. We have to keep student at the center of this entire system, learning what we are doing, the educators, the principals, and then evolve the sector in that aspect. If we are here with the intent to serve, I mean, everything will fall in place. So that's my thing that I want to end by.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was a very, well thought of statement that you made, that, students have to be at the center of, the entire evolution that we are facing. And I think this was a very insightful discussion that we had, where our speakers, Mr. Agrawal from Sarti Pedagogy, Mr. Ankur Vora from Cianfo, and Dr. Prem Das Maheshwari from D2L South Asia. They not only shared, their views on traditional versus edtech, but also spoke about the challenges that EdTech has and what is the roadmap ahead. And I would like to thank all our panelists for their valuable time and their views on such a pertinent topic that is going to define the education in a post-pandemic situation. So thank you everyone, for being part of this discussion. And please accept this small token of appreciation. If I can ask my team at the back end to present the certificates on screen, please. Thank you, Mr. Sushil Agrawal, CEO and founder, Sarti Pedagogy, for your time and your views at the EdTech Summit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate this discussion. Thanks.
Dr. Prem Maheshwari, thank you so much, sir, for being present here. And it was wonderful listening to your insights on this topic.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Elets.
And Mr. Ankur Vora, Business Director, India Cianfo. Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful listening to your pertinent thoughts and, and your very well-rounded off discussion. So thank you so much. And thank you to all my panelists for being here today. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you
Wonderful.
so much, Karima. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.